So today, I'm going to introduce you to a module built by Nalios. It's called EDI Connector. It's a module we developed to handle any kind of EDI exchange, orders, confirmations, delivery notes, all without having to code a specific connector for every partner. The problem we're solving is that every trading partner has its own format, its own communication channel, and its own rules. Traditionally, that means custom development every single time. With this module, everything is configured directly from the Odoo interface. The channel, the format, the old mapping, and the processing rules. In this video, I'm going to show you the 6 channel types currently supported by the module and how to configure profiles and field mapping, as well as how to trigger automatic sending. So let's start by going into the module. Once we're in, there are several menus, and we'll start with the channels. A channel is the technical way files get in or out of Odoo. The module currently supports 6. The first one, the webhook, is fairly standard. On the inbound side, Odoo automatically generates a unique URL with a secret token. You give that URL to your partner, and as soon as they drop a file on it, Odoo receives and processes it. On the outbound side, it's the reverse. You configure your partner's remote URL with a timeout, and Odoo pushes the file there whenever a trigger fires. It's the simplest channel, typically used with e-commerce platforms or modern APIs. Next, there's FTP or SFTP. Same logic, 2 different protocols. You configure the host, the port, the username, and the password. There's a watched folder here called the remote path, where Odoo checks for new files. On an archive folder where processed files get moved. That way, we never reprocess the same file twice by mistake. On the outbound side, there's a configurable file name template, for example with the date, the sequence number, or even the value of a mapped field. And an important point, file retrieval isn't done manually. There's a single global scheduler running, unique across the system that pulls all your channels, FTP, step, and so on. It's not one scheduler per channel, just one for everything, configurable from the settings. Next, which goes along with FTP, and then ASTU. The ASTU channel is the historic standard for B2P EDI. Messages are encrypted and signed, and the partner sends back an acknowledgement of receipt called an MDN, either synchronously within the same connection, or asynchronously on a dedicated URL. This whole feature is enabled from the settings with a simple toggle. It's disabled by default because it requires an extra Python library. I won't run a live test on this channel since it needs real certificates. But you can see the full configuration here. Just our certificates, the partners, and that's it. Next, there's manual export. The simplest of the 6 The file is just attached to the exchange record with no network transfer at all. It's useful for one-off exports or for a partner who doesn't have automation in place yet. And finally, there's the Transus channel. This one's a bit different. It's for connecting to a VAN, a value-added network. Basically, partner is never directly connected to us. Everything goes through the Transus platform. The protocol works in 3 steps. We send a message within 10,100 call to receive data. We have to pull Transus ourselves. We're the ones fetching, not them pushing something to us. Once we've processed the message, we have to confirm receipt. Otherwise, Transus keeps resending it indefinitely. So if I run a test, I do get a green message here. Next, after the channels, we need to set up profiles. Now that we've seen the channels, let's look at profiles. Let's pick this one, for example, for the webhook. So what's a profile? It's the configuration for one specific document. Here, an order confirmation on a given channel in a given format. So here, XML format and the webhook channel. We pick the relevant model. Here, the customer order, the XML format. There are other formats you can pick too. And the direction, inbound or outbound. Here, it's outbound. There's an optional nested line section for documents that have a header plus repeating lines, typically an order with order line. You specify the line model and the one-to-many field. You can even add a filter, for example, here. We only pull lines where the quantity is greater than 0, to skip cancelled lines, for instance. And that line filter isn't handwritten code. It's the same visual filter widget you'll find everywhere in Odoo. You pick the field, the operator, and the value. You can even combine several rules with any or all logic. You'll see this exact same widget again later on the triggers. So here, we have a choice. You can pick any field. Next, there's header mapping and line mapping. This is where most of the configuration happens. The field mapping. Each row in this table represents a match between a source field. Here, an XML tag and an Odoo field. Ref maps to the order's customer reference field. Customer maps to the partner. Nothing complicated so far. Now look at the shop ref row. We use a field path instead of a direct field because we need to fetch a reference on the partner linked to the order. So, partner dit ref. This is useful anytime a simple Odoo field isn't enough to reach the value you want. And the last row, made up of ref, shows the most powerful option, the transformer, a Python expression. You can build a value out of several fields at once. Here, we build a reference by concatenating the order name. 2 columns, you really shouldn't miss on the right. Required. If that value is empty at send time, the exchange fails rather than sending an incomplete file. And match on, the field used to find an existing record, to avoid creating a duplicate every time we send the same document again. Here. On the line mapping tab, you'll find the exact same principle, but applied to the order lines rather than the header. The 2 tables are kept completely separate, never mixed together. To wrap up this menu, there are still the action rules. Once the values are mapped, you need to tell Odoo what to do with them. That's the role of action rules. You can choose between create or update, calling a method, or simply posting a message in the chatter. Each rule can have an optional condition, evaluated against the already mapped values, which lets you handle several different cases within a single profile without multiplying configurations. The last configurable piece is the triggers. For outbound sends, we don't want to click manually every single time. That's where triggers come in. A trigger is a rule that says, send this profile as soon as this condition becomes true on the Odoo model. Here, for example, we send the order confirmation as soon as the order's state changes to sale, meaning confirmed. There are 2 fields, before change and after change conditions. This matters because it means the send only fires on the actual transition, the exact moment the state changes. Not every time the rule runs. Just because the record already happens to be in that state. You'll recognize this widget. It's exactly the same visual filter selector we just saw on the line filter in profiles, just applied to the trigger conditions instead of the document lines. No syntax to learn, no code to write. You click, pick the field and the operator, and Odoo builds the condition for you. Under the hood. This relies on Odoo's standard automated actions. If needed, you can also find and adjust them from the regular automation menu. So now, let's move on to a live demo. Here we can go check the channels. I can show you that all my channels are connected. All my servers are responding. I can even go into the FTP channel. Here we see a screen with all the exchanges, sorted in order. The full list of exchanges, sorted in order with their status, error, success, or warning. If there's ever an error, you'll find exactly what caused it. And if a record was created, there's a smart button here to jump straight to that record. So here I can see I only have 2 exchanges. If, say, I go to my FTP channel and trigger the poll, meaning I go fetch files, the same as the cron would. I go check for files waiting on the FTP servers. Here I see a new exchange has come in. I can see a file in EDIFACT format, and a record was created here. So that's around 2 o'clock. So there you go, you can see the poll worked. You can just as well run it via cron, like I mentioned earlier. The cron can run once or twice a day or every 5 minutes. It's really up to you. What we can also test here is confirming a real order live and showing you that the file really does land on my computer or on a whatever server was configured. To recap, here I have a trigger. This is the one we're going to use. It checks whether orders have moved into the sale state. So here I'll go to my sales orders and confirm this one. So it's now. A confirmed sales order. And now if I check on my computer, at exactly 2:13 p.m. I should have a file that just arrived here, exactly matching the order using the mapping we set up earlier. One last quick look at the settings here. You can see the module has its own settings menu, and here you can enable or disable the ASTU setting. And automatic polling, either every 5 minutes, every day, or every hour. So that's really how you turn on the cron that fetches files from all the channels to process them. And to wrap up on one more technical point, we didn't have time to show in detail today. The same mapping engine works identically across all 5 formats. It's EDIFACT, fixed width, and tsv.y. You can even receive several orders in a single EDIFACT file, with multiple messages in the same interchange, and Odoo correctly splits them apart, each becoming its own record. So to sum up, 1 module, 6 channels, 5 formats, a single mapping engine, fully configurable from the Odoo interface, with no need to write a single line of code for each new partner. If you want to dig deeper, we have a complete PDF guide covering all of this in detail, available on the modules page. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks so much for watching this presentation. All the links will be in the video description. Thanks again, and see you soon.